Well, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? All right. So for those of you who don't know me, Jenny said my name is Steve King, and if you've ever been to first service or during the summer when we had music going on, I'm the guy that's always back there playing, beating on things while musicians are playing. So that's who I am. And a couple weeks back, Jenny asked me to come and give a message here today, and I really want to thank her for that opportunity. It's been really great. Lately, I have been, during the summer, you haven't seen me quite as much because I've actually been out in Sultan, going back and forth with Vicki Evanson, preaching out there for what's left of the Sultan United Methodist Church. So that's kind of where I've been. Anyway, today we're going to be sharing the joy that is Holy Communion, and I wanted to delve a little bit into what it means to take the bread of the juice. And I don't want to get too much into the background and symbolism connected with the Old Testament Passover, but more what it means for us as Christians today. Colin S. Smith, who's the pastor of Orchard Evangelical Free Church in Illinois, has very brilliant insight into the sacraments of both baptism and communion. He says, the whole of the Christian faith can be summed up in these two visual images: taking a bath, having a meal. My inner life needs to be washed, and my inner life needs to be fed. Christ will wash you, and Christ will feed you. Even before the Last Supper, Jesus was beginning to kind of get people used to the idea of what we would come to know as Holy Communion. While teaching in the synagogue at Capernaum, like Jenny just read in verse 35, Jesus tells the people, I'm the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry again. But you who have believed in me, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. But you haven't believed in me, even though you've seen me. Even the disciples didn't get it. And follows up shortly after that passage, they say, this is very hard to understand. How can anyone accept it? Fair enough. But just like the way Jesus talked about a lot of different things in the Bible, it's a visual representation to a very complicated, or that explains a very complicated theological concept. He brings the same line of reasoning back when we actually get to the Last Supper. But then he says the words, do this in remembrance of me. How many of you guys forget things? Guilty. Right? I'm horrible at it. I live by sticky notes. They're all over my desk at work. I can tell you useless trivia about movies, music, whatever. Important stuff, no way. I have that reminders, my phone, sticky notes, whatever. Those little reminders help us. And that's exactly what communion is. It's a reminder. It's not the thing that saves us. It's the thing that reminds us that we're saved. Because we have a tendency to forget. This last Thursday, as I mentioned, we have yet another town in the U.S., this time in Roseburg, Oregon, that has been forced to deal with devastating loss and destruction of gun violence. On this World Communion Sunday, I think it's very, very important that we remember that we're not doing this on our own. As we celebrate the communion today, we're celebrating with communion, or with readers, all across the world. Not just in Africa, or Greece, or Korea, but right here in our own backyard as well. We celebrate with our brothers and sisters down in Roseburg. And I'd like to ask everybody here to please lift them up in prayer as we go on through our week. They're really going to need it, and this is going to be a time of great challenge and healing in their community. And want them to know that they are not alone. And before we come up and eat the bread and drink the juice, we need to ask ourselves a question. Why are we here? In 1 Corinthians, Paul says that we should examine ourselves before we eat the cup or eat the bread and drink from the cup. That we should be worthy to take part in this very solemn occasion. And rightly so. In the United Methodist Church, we have a very wonderful gift of John Wesley as our spiritual forefather and mentor. And one of the main points in his ministry was grace. And the fact that if we open up ourselves to receive it, it's ours. Something that he called prevenient grace. This is what makes us worthy to come to the table. Wesley actually believed in this so fervently, in communion especially, that he wrote in his journal that he felt it was the only real scriptural religion. Tells you something right there. So, do we follow Jesus because he said some nice things and we may have had a taste of the good life? Or do we follow because we believe the things that he's told us? When we accept Holy Communion, it's an expression of trust. Do you believe in that grace that you've been given? If you do, welcome to the table. Would you please join me in prayer? Oh Lord, as we come to your table this morning, let it be a reminder of your saving grace. We can never earn this great reward except through the sacrifice of your only Son. Be present here with us now, and as we go out into the world to share what we've been reminded of here this morning. Amen.